Hey everybody, Jochen Heiden here. So today's the day. I'm finally done with my setup. It took forever. For those of you who've played this game before, you know that the turn 1 for Japan or the turn 2 for Allied setup takes a long time because that's basically where you have to move everything on the map that you got. Your land combat units, the bases, the ships, aircraft, everything has to be addressed or you have to have a plan for it. So I've been working on this for the past couple weeks. And today's the day that I'm done. So I'm going to do a little strategy roundup here where I'm going to go all around the map and explain my overall plan for the campaign, at least in the opening stages. And I'm going to do it in a summary kind of fashion. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. If there's anything you have a question about specifically that I don't address here to your satisfaction, just send me a message or leave a comment on the video and I'll try to address your question. Or you can come to my Discord server and ask a question there. Come to the Allied side channel and I'll do my best to explain whatever it is you want to know about. So we're going to go ahead and just do this in like a, let's do this in a counterclockwise motion. And I'm going to start over kind of on the west coast of the United States and we'll go from there. So on the west coast, I've done a lot of moving around different aircraft to different bases, moving some land combat units, fortifying the coast just in case Lodrik gets really crazy and tries to invade. Highly unlikely, but I'm basically just reorganizing stuff and grouping things together and getting my pilot training program set up. I've moved some aircraft from the east coast and some from the east coast to the west coast. It's going to take a week or two to get that all put together, but that's basically what I'm doing. I'm also organizing a lot of my task forces here. Getting some basic supply systems set up right now to head across the ocean. As I move up here, I'm reorganizing stuff to start pivoting towards Alaska. So I'm kind of putting together these Canadian bases and stuff out of Seattle to build up Alaska. And the primary function of Alaska here is just going to be to defend the Aleutian Islands from him if he elects to attack these. I know historically the Japanese did. Personally, I don't see a lot of value in that for him in this campaign. If you look at the point values for some of these bases here, they're not very high. I don't know that it's worth him diverting resources from other places to come up here. But if he wants to, I'm going to try to be ready for that. The only value that I see here is that if he's able to get some air bases built up in here, he can harass some of my shipping that I've got going on up here. But I don't know how likely that is. One thing I am building up a lot, and I'm putting a lot of effort into this, is I am building up Dutch Harbor to be a submarine base. So I'm going to be shifting a lot of my submarines up to Dutch Harbor, and they're going to be part of my interdiction campaign in Japan because it's a shorter distance to Dutch Harbor to refuel and rearm than it is for the subs to go all the way back to Pearl Harbor. Midway would be a good submarine base, I think, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to be able to hold on to that. I don't know if Lodrik is going to be making an attempt on Midway Island during this campaign. Wake Island would be another good submarine base, but again, actually it probably would be a good sub base with the port capacity being what it is, but these two bases are in question. I don't know that I can hold them, at least early on, but I do know that I can hold Dutch Harbor. So I'm going to plan on building this up as a sub base to use my submarines to interdict his merchant shipping in Japan. Moving on to Soviet Union, not much to say here. I've actually didn't do a whole lot of setup so far in Soviet Union. I'm kind of going to do this in small chunks. I don't anticipate Soviet Union coming into play anytime soon. I don't think Lodrik is bold enough to poke the bear with the his forces in Manchukuo trying to come into Soviet Union. So I'm not in a huge hurry to set it up. Right now I'm just doing some basic fortification, kind of setting up the aircraft training missions, but not much else because there's not much you can really do with Soviet Union while it's inactive. So not much to talk about there, but we can talk about China because this is This is probably going to be where I struggle the most in this entire campaign because there's so much going on here, and I don't know that I understand it fully well enough to know what a good plan is. Now I was looking at the spreadsheet that Call did, but it's set up to fight the AI, and I know that Lodrik is not the AI. I've watched him in previous campaigns that he's done, and he likes to come into here with a massive battering ram of massive stacks of units. And he gets those from Manchukuo because there is a massive reserve of good armored units, artillery units, infantry units as part of the Kwangtung army that you can bring over into China. We're talking thousands and thousands of troops, thousands of assault value worth of troops that you can just transfer over into China, Mongol garrison as well. All those armies basically cost nothing for the Japanese player to ship over. So he can bring over 200,000 troops from Manchukuo and just start ramrodding things through here. So I know that's how he likes to play. So I'm going to try to meet him wholesale and large battles. I'm never going to be able to stop him when he comes in with his battering ram. So kind of what I'm planning to do is bring all the troops up here down and try to make a stand here at Langchao and Kungchang, because if you look at the grids here, they're very defensible, and these are the major roads that go up to these last bases. I'm sure he's going to want to try to take all these, and he's going to get about 100 points or more doing it, but I just don't have the troops to mount a massive defense of these bases up here, so I'm just going to start pulling them all down, moving all the aircraft down, and focusing my defense in this area here. Whether or not that's a good strategy, I don't know. That's what I'm going to do. At Yan'an, I'm abandoning it. I don't see the point in defending it. He can have it. It's hard to get to as it is with these bad roads. I see it being a big issue to supply. So I'm going to start pulling back all my units up here and bringing them towards Cyan and Sao Tso, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Where I am going to defend is here at Sao Tso, because it's got WR, which is, I believe, a ×3 defense. So my defense zone is going to start here at Loyang and Sao Tso. I'm abandoning Yan'an. He can have it. I'm going to save all these troops from getting bombed to death and bring them back towards Cyan and start building this area up. I'm also abandoning Changchao because I don't see it as being very defendable. It's in clear terrain, and the only thing he's got to do is cross the river to get there. And I just don't have enough supplies and troops to hold on to all of this stuff. So I would rather just abandon this to him. And I'm going to move all the troops that I can to Loyang and make my stand at Sao Tso and Loyang. And also moving troops back to Nanyang. So if you can follow my mouse here, my defense perimeter is going to be kind of like this. Okay? Like this. He can have Changchao. He can have Yan'an if he wants it. I feel like I need to concentrate my forces into bigger groups to have any chance of defending against his monster waves of massive Japanese forces he's going to bring over from Manchukuo. Also in this area here, I am making a move into Aichang. I'm going to try to push him out of here. He looks like he's moving anyway, so I'm just going to try to help him out of here so I can establish a defensive zone kind of in this area. In the south of China here, I'm realizing more and more now, having played the Japanese against the Allied AI, that this whole southern part of China is a liability. I don't think I can hold it, and I feel like he can come down through here and cut me off and isolate all these units and choke me out, well, you know, in the game, and kind of isolate these bases, and I'm going to lose about 100,000 troops in here holding on, trying to hold on the bases I can't hold on to. So my plan is to collapse back, abandon Wenchao and Chuxian, and set up a defensive zone in this area here. I'm just going to surrender all these bases here and save all these troops and evacuate them back this way. I see that he appears to be moving down this way. He may be trying to cut me off. So I'm actually moving some troops down to this road junction here to prevent his units from coming down here and blocking my retreat path. So that's what I'm doing in the south of China. Also over here by Canton, if you follow my mouse again, I'm going to set up a new defensive zone kind of this direction. I'm pulling all these units out of here and bringing them back and concentrating them into bigger forces. Because again, he likes to build up units and come in really hard with this massive stacks. I'm not going to be able to defend those with just single units. So I'm combining down here. In the center of China, I'm just building up my bases here, fortifying and combining units again just to have a stronger defense. As for the north of China, it's the same thing. I'm fortifying this area here and moving any spare units out of Chongqing down this way to beef up this center area because I don't want to lose any of these. Changsha, Henyang, if he busts through here, he's going to just keep going. So I'm going to try to build up forces down here to defend that. I did get asked questions about the Chinese Air Force and what I plan to do with it. And my answer is I don't really know because he has so many air units available in China. And they're all of superior aircraft types for the most part. A lot of Oscars and stuff like that. He also has a lot of Nates, which are kind of on par with the stuff that I start with. But he can easily change those Nate units out to Oscars, which will completely outclass the I-16s and the I-153s or the I-15s that I currently have. So I'm kind of just planning to pull back the Chinese forces and do training and wait for aircraft upgrades, better pilot quality before I will start combining my air units into large forces so I can put up wholesale defenses at key areas. But initially, I don't intend to use the Chinese Air Force for much of anything because they're just going to get killed off for no gain. I don't think I'm competitive with anything he's got. So I'm pulling everything back to train and beef it up before I try using it. So if you have questions more about specifically what I plan to do with the Chinese Air Force, let me know. I'll do my best to explain it individually, but that's the overall strategy. And that's my overall strategy in China. You might laugh at me and say it's ridiculous what I'm doing, and maybe you're right, but this is what I see looking at the map. And I just want to turtle up and stack my units like he's going to stack his so that when he comes and attacks me, I'm defending in grids that have a lot of defense value, and I have a lot of forces to push back against his massive army units that he's going to bring in. So we'll see how this develops. This may be a terrible plan. He's just going to, I'm giving too many bases away for free, and he's just going to come and bulldoze through anyway. But that's my plan. So we'll see how it goes. So in Burma, this is where I really think that I can push back and slow or stop him down. I don't want to lose Rangoon. I really want to hold on to it at all costs. And what I plan to do is move all available units that aren't needed up here for garrison units down. I'm going to combine all the loose units into their brigades and divisions because those, I believe, fight better than just like subunits. So I'm recombining all the available units that I have that are currently in Burma. And I'm also shifting forces down to Mole Mine because I feel like this is a very important base to defend. Even more important than like Pegu or other bases because it actually sits on a pretty decent hex. It's jungle, right? So that's usually a ×2 defense. And this is a base that he can get into to land units amphibiously if he wants to without much trouble. Because it's far enough away that he won't have to deal with any of my naval units or the minefields or stuff. So I'm going to be shipping a lot of units down the Mole Mine, and I'm going to make my stand there. Short of an amphibious invasion this way, which I don't know that he's willing to do because he will be exposed to a lot of air attack and whatever naval forces that I can muster to come down there and defend it. But he can definitely use these roads from Bangkok, from Rabang, and walk his troops up to Mole Mine. So I think that's what he's going to do. He's going to use his rail networks to ship his forces kind of into here and kind of come in from Rabang over this road and attack Mole Mine. So if I can get there first and beef that up, I think I have a good chance of slowing him down until I can get more of my naval reinforcements down into Rangoon in the coming weeks. I'm shifting all the available troops that I can to Burma. I've got multiple supply convoys coming here. I'm going to make a stand here, and I think I can hold Rangoon. So that's my plan in Burma. As also, since we were talking about Chinese Air Force earlier, it is my intent to leave the Flying Tigers in Burma. I'm not going to move them into China. I think that these high-quality units are more important here in Burma, defending against his air forces here. So the Flying Tigers are going to remain in Rangoon, in this area, and they're going to defend this area as best they can. So with India, I'm just going to briefly go over this. The bottom line up front is that I'm looking for all available units that aren't needed for garrison duty, and I'm going to be shifting them down and start building up a line of defense in this part. I'm also beefing up all the port cities in case he ever tries to invade one of the major port cities. I'm moving troops there, and I'm also moving troops into this part of India so we can stand ready to repulse him in case he has major successes in Burma and finds a way to push my stuff all the way out of here. I'm going to have a line of defense built up from basically Cox's Bazar all the way to Lido. So I've got units coming down to reinforce that. I've got as many available air forces moving down towards Calcutta and all these other places, Chittagong, to support that effort as well. But that's my overall India strategy, is move everything that I can down this way to help in Burma. Not much to say about Ceylon, or Sri Lanka, if you will. I'm beefing it up a little bit. I'm setting up my anti-submarine patrol network there because I'm sure he's going to send subs up this way. So I'm basically beefing that up. And then I plan on using Colombo as a major naval base, and I will be shifting as many support units and air units as I can to defend it in case he tries to launch an Indian Ocean raid with his carriers at some point. I want to have as many forces as possible in the area to repel that, even when it happens. I have no idea what he's going to do in this campaign because he's already gone way off the rails with the historical stuff. So who knows what he's going to do. But I want to be ready for him. So if you have any more questions about what I'm doing here in India, let me know. There's not really much to do for now. Just moving them in these areas, as I said. So let's talk about Malaya. So I feel like I really screwed here. Historically, Singapore didn't fall till what? The end of February of 1942. But he's really put me in a bind because he landed at Mersing on turn 1 with a pretty decent sized force. And that is a huge problem because my plan is to collapse these units back and build up Singapore and make a big strong fight there. But if he's very successful in Mersing and he gets into Johor Bahru, he's going to cut off my retreat path for all of these units up in here in northern Malaya, which I'm rushing to get down here right now via rail. I'm moving everything I can to Singapore so I can make a stand there. But if he gets into Johor before all these units pack up and rail down into Singapore, I am really screwed because I won't have enough to stop him at all. And I'm not sending any more reinforcements to Singapore. For those of you who've played Allied before, there's a couple task forces that are off map, coming on map, that are destined for Singapore. I've pulled all those out of the way, and I'm sending them to Rangoon because I know that in the long term, Singapore is not defendable. But with him landing at Mersing in turn 1, it's really increasing the time pressure for me to get all my units moved down out of here. So I'm really worried about them getting trapped before I can get them into Singapore and start building up defenses here. So we'll see how long I can hold off at Mersing and how long I can keep him from moving into Johor and blocking me and blocking my retreat path for all the units that are north of there. I've moved as many units as I could that weren't damaged fight his air attacks into Singapore. And I've got them doing various missions and things there. I don't want to get into too much detail because of OPSEC. Who knows who's watching this video? But I've got as much of my air assets as possible moved down there to defend Singapore for as long as possible. I've also got all of the available ships that I can packed up and ready to ship out of Singapore. I'm not sticking around, and I'm not evacuating anybody. Who's ever there is there. If they die, they die. But I don't want to give him ship kills for nothing. So all of these ships that are here, I'm moving south. And these are the remnants from Force Z. I hope I can get some of them out of here, but he's positioned to kill them all. He's got his carriers here. He's got major surface combatants ready to probably go in and bounce these destroyers. So I have them moving out at maximum speed. Hopefully I can get some out of there. So for Sumatra, I'm basically going to be combining forces up here and down here. I'm moving a lot of the troops out of these little podunk bases, and I'm collapsing them back to Palembang. And I'm planning on making Fortress Palembang, because if you look at the grid, it's a swamp, and I believe that's times 3 defense. Let me see. Swamps are times 3 defense value, so I'm going to be collecting as many available forces as I can at Palembang, and I'm going to be trying to defend that. Hopefully I can slow him down. I suspect he's not going to come in amphibiously, but he's going to come down here via Oosthaven and work his way up this way, because I'm going to be putting a crap ton of mines in Palembang, and I'm sure he's going to know that. And I don't think he's willing to lose ships coming in with an amphibious assault in the Palembang. And you really can't land anywhere else in here because it's all swampland here. So he either has to come in direct here or at Oosthaven. So that'll give me time to get units retreated back to Palembang and build up fortresses there. And then also I'm going to be laying minefields at Oosthaven too to slow him down, because I think that's where he's going to come in. So we'll see how long we can hold Palembang. I'm not bringing any additional troops in there. I'm just going to use whatever I got, and if it falls, it falls. Palembang doesn't figure to last anyway. In Java, I'm condensing forces into Batavia. I plan on beefing this up and making a strong defense of Batavia. Yeah, I don't think it'll hold out indefinitely, but it's going to cost him a lot of forces to take it. I'll have some good fortifications there and as many of the ground troops as I can. I'm not evacuating anything from Java. Whatever's there is staying there. I'm not pulling anything out. And then whatever's in the south part of Java, I'm moving into Surabaya, which is not nearly as defendable being in clear terrain. So I'm kind of using it as a naval base for now. I've got a lot of subs and surface units and other cargo task forces using Surabaya as a waypoint. And I want to try to pull some fuel and supply out of there and ship it down into Australia as fast as I can. And on all these other units here, I'm going to combine and set up another base here at Timor. Kopang is going to be where I'm going to kind of start collapsing all my air units and seaplanes and stuff as he starts taking stuff through this area. Kopang is where I'm going to be kind of making another last stand on Timor. Over here in Borneo, all of these bases along the edges and the periphery, I'm already writing off for dead, so I'm really not even going to attempt to move the units. These cargo task forces are just units that I'm retreating out of here. With him being so close with all these naval forces and a carrier task force already in place, they're merging, I don't have time to be messing around and evacuating troops out of here. He can come down in one turn and hit all of my naval forces and take those out as I'm evacuating troops. So I'm not even going to lose any guys at sea. I'm going to leave them in their bases. Tarakan I'm using as a waypoint to evacuate stuff from Philippines, which we'll get to. This doesn't figure to last either, but it does have this coastal defense battery, and you don't think that it's a big deal, but when I played against this as the Japanese, these darn guns killed probably 5 or 6 of my cargo ships. I went in there thinking I could take it real easy, and I ended up losing a lot of ships to these guns here. So I'm hoping Tarakan can hold out for a while. I'm going to be using Balikpapan as a waypoint for ships leaving the Philippines because it's got a lot of fuel available to refuel and continue down into Surabaya and eventually Australia. So let's talk about the Philippines. This is another place where I think I'm kind of screwed because he got to hit Iba and San Fernando right off the bat. He didn't even bother landing at Lauag and Apari, which, you know, I kind of thought he would. He's bypassing it entirely because he knows that they're not worth much. So he hit me at San Fernando and Iba on turn 1. And that really stinks because he locked up 2 good infantry units that I would have wanted to collapse in. So they're going to get beat up, and I'm going to lose a lot of assault value in both of these before I can get them back. And he also landed at Batangas, which really stinks because he cut off this unit and he locked up this unit, which I would have liked to have collapsed back this way, but he's kind of cutting me off here with this stupid landing. Why did I agree to this? But yeah, so I'm kind of surrounded already right out turn 1. But my overall strategy in Luzon is I'm going to be making my last stand not at Bataan, but at Clark Field. Because if you look at the grids, Clark Field is jungle rough. And Bataan is only jungle, right? So if you look at this key over here, jungle rough is a ×3 defense value, and jungle is only ×2. So when you look at the map, other than the minefields here at Bataan, it's not nearly as defensible at Bataan as it is at Clark Field. So I'm moving all of my troops, everything I got, to Clark Field. Anything that's not static is going to Clark Field. And I'm defending there. And my rationale is that the Philippines are going to fall no matter what. There's no way I can hold out indefinitely. But I need to tie up as many troops of his as I can. I need to cause as many casualties as I can of his before I go down. And he kind of hamstrung me with his invasions and the way he did this, because I would have liked to have condensed even more units at Clark Field, but he tied him up with his invasion points. So I'm going to have to make do with what I've got already on Luzon that's not being attacked. But I'm defending Clark Field. All right? So that's where I'm going to make my last stand. And then when it falls, I'll probably end up here at Bataan. And I'll have a lot of beat-up units at Bataan, and he'll be able to take it out pretty easily. But it is what it is. I think they got this backwards. I think Clark Field should have been the jungle, and Bataan should have been jungle rough. So it's actually easier to defend Bataan than it is Clark Field. But that's how they coded these hexes, so that's what we're going to do. So let's talk about the ships at Manila. As you may have recalled, he devastated my submarine forces and my ships at Manila on turn 1 with a massive port strike. So I have a lot of damaged ships at Manila. But you know what? I'm not letting him sink them there. I've got everything packed up. I'm leaving not a single ship in Manila. If it's not sunk yet, it's heading out. And I fully expect to lose. Look at some of these ships in some of these task forces. They are beat up. Some are good. Some are not good. Some of them are really, really bad. Like these ships here. I think half of these will sink on the way out. Right? Look at this damage on some of these ships. Look at this. Look at these subs. I don't think I'm going to get any of these out of here. Honestly, I think half of them are going to sink on the way out. But so be it. I would rather lose them at sea than have him keep port striking me and getting kills with them not even having any chance at all. So I've got every available ship that's still afloat, whether it's on fire or sinking or not, packaged up into a task force, and I am moving them out. And if I get 1/3 of the ships that are there out of here, I'm going to consider that a win. Because otherwise, he's just going to kill them all for nothing. So I've got most of these ships in the Philippines heading down this way. Some are going to go to Tarakan. Some are going to Balikpapan. And whatever's like fully intact is gonna kind of meet up at Surabaya, and from there I will send them down to Australia or wherever it makes sense. But I've left not a single ship in the harbor at Manila. So during the next couple turns, you'll see how many of my ships sink on the way out, And if they sink, they sink. But if I make it out of there, then great. You never know. I am playing as Allied, and Allied damage control is a thing, so you never know. Some of these ships that I would have written off for dead may actually get out of there without being hit too badly. So wish me luck with that. It'll be like the Baton Death March, but only at sea, and we're just going to be drowning on our own, not because he's killing them. So, as far as the Air Force in the Philippines, I am going to let you watch and see what's going to happen. I got a good tip from a very experienced player, and he gave me some suggestions on what to do with my aircraft, which was, to me, outside the box. I would have thought to do this, but I'm going to try this. So instead of me telling you what's going to happen, you just wait and see. Hopefully we get some pretty spectacular results, but if I don't, at least it was worth a shot. And now after it's all said and done, I'll explain what I was trying to do, and we'll see if it actually works. But after this next turn, I don't plan on having very many aircraft left in Luzon. I'm pulling them out because I just don't see me being able to defend against his zero fighters coming in from Takao. They're just going to sweep me to death here. So I would rather save those units and use them other places than defend this place in the Philippines that I don't think is defendable. I'll be collecting as many units as I can and probably shipping them over to Iloilo. Iloilo. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Iloilo. I can't say it. I want to rather condense all these available units if I have the time to transport them and just make stand at the most valuable base in the area here. So I'll be condensing here, and also on Mindanao. I'm going to be condensing at Cagayan. I'm going to leave some token forces at all the possible invasion points that he needs, but I am beefing up Cagayan, and I'm collapsing in as much as I can there, and I'll attempt to defend it. But again, all of the Philippines is destined to fall. I just don't think that I can hold it indefinitely, so I'm not going to try to do anything crazy here. And I've also packaged up all the little AKLs that are at the ports here. I'm shipping all of them out of here because all they are free points for him. I don't want to give him any extra ship kills that I don't need. So I'm pulling out all the ships that I possibly can out of the Philippines, and I'm sending them down to Surabaya. And from Surabaya, I'll send them down to Australia. One last thing I want to mention here in the Makassar Strait and the Celebes Sea is this task force right here that he's got. It's very interesting to me. It says, now granted, I don't know how accurate this intelligence is. They could be grossly under or over reported in this task force. But be that as it may, he has this task force here, and I don't know where he's going. If I were a betting man, I would say he's maybe trying to make a run at Balikpapan, and I really can't afford to lose that right now. So I've got this task force here. It's the Marblehead and a bunch of American destroyers, and we're going right for them. I got these guys on absolute and direct, and we're going to engage this task force. I don't know what's in it. Hopefully it's as advertised and it's just a bunch of small ships, but I can't afford to have this unit go unchecked. So I'm sending these ships after him here. I'm sending this destroyer task force up towards Balikpapan to back them up. And I'm also sending the De Ruyter and all these Dutch destroyers up here as well. Also sending all the other Dutch light cruisers that I've got available into the Makassar Strait, because I really want to hold Balikpapan as long as possible, so I have a way station for all my ships retreating out of the Philippines. And I don't know what this unit is right here, but we're going to go out swinging. I'm sending every ship that I got in the area after these guys, because I want this thing repulsed, and I don't want him going unchecked into this Makassar Strait. So hopefully next turn that you see, this is going to be a pretty wild fight. I'm really hoping for something good here. Oh, I forgot to mention two things. I got the Houston. I'm sending that over to Tarakan to help support these ships I got here. And I also have the Boise. And I have that on a secret mission. I'm not going to show you right now. You'll have to wait and see. It's either going to be hero or zero. I'll tell you that. Again, it was a tip that I got from another player. So, sounded exciting. So, I'm sending it on a little scud run. So, hopefully, on the next turn, we're going to see some action out of the Boise. But again, I'm not going to tell you where it's going right now for operational security reasons. I don't know who's watching or if any of this information is going to get to Lodrik. But I'm hoping for something fun. All right, not much to say here. Just some organization combining of stuff. Australia, it's the usual. Beefing up Darwin, beefing up Perth, getting ships set up for relocation. I'm sending there's a lot of ships in Australia that actually need to go to the U.S. West Coast because they're very large tankers, very large cargo ships that I'll need to establish my supply convoys from the United States to Australia. So you'll see a lot of ships for the next few turns coming out of Australia, heading to the U.S. West Coast. And I'm also combining ground units here that I'm going to buy out with political points. And I'm going to be beefing up Port Moresby. So let's talk about this area because, you know, Australia, it's not too exciting. I'm just combining units. I'm going to be reforming brigades and divisions. And as I have the political points, I'm going to be buying them out and sending out some of these Australian divisions. But here's what my plan is out here in the Solomons, in New Britain. I'm going to be evacuating all of these small units via air. So I've got all these Catalinas and these flying boats. I'm going to be evacuating all these small units out of here. To include, I have some ships coming up here to grab the Lark Battalion because that's a pretty decent sized unit, right? I would love to have that at Port Moresby. So I actually have an American transport task force heading full steam towards Rabaul to grab the Lark Battalion so I can move it to Port Moresby. But I'm basically giving all of this up. He can have it. Rabaul's going to fall no matter what I do, but every little troop that I can get out of there, move to Port Moresby, will help me. My plan is to beef the heck out of Port Moresby. I do not want to lose it. I think I can hold it. I'm throwing everything I got and the kitchen sink into Port Moresby. I'm going to grab surface ships, kind of stage them at Cooktown. I'm moving thousands of troops to Port Moresby. Maybe it's a fool's errand, but I don't want to lose it. This is a big point swing. And Port Moresby is very valuable to him because he can start harassing my supply lines all throughout here if he takes it. So expect to see me moving a lot of troops towards Port Moresby. And I hope to have a great fight there because I know he wants it. And I know he's going to come after it. So I think he's going to be shocked by what he finds when he finally gets there. So tune in later. Port Moresby is going to be hot. All right. I'm briefly going to talk about stuff out here. Nothing exciting. I'm just doing the usual beef up and set up to establish supply lines and stuff for future convoys coming from West Coast to Australia. I'm not going to bore you with the individual details, but if things get hot out here, I'll make sure to show you what's going on. Not much going on in New Zealand. I'm relocating some ships, using it as a base of supply for some of the small islands out here in the South Pacific, but nothing too exciting in New Zealand. All right, so let's kind of finish my wrap up here, or roundup rather, with Hawaii, because I got something exciting going on over here. He did not move his Kido Butai off of Pearl Harbor. It's still there, and it's very menacing. I have no idea what his plan is with this. I would have expected him to skedaddle out of here as soon as he had his Pearl Harbor strike, but he's sitting right there. So I don't know what his plan is. Is he trying to port strike me again or not? I'm hoping he does not, because as I showed you in a previous video, while I did not lose any of my standard battleships, they're all jacked up. and they really can't afford another port strike. So if he hits me again, I'm going to lose a lot of these ships. So with that being said, I've got all available fighters on cap. I got them up to like 80, 100% cap. Everything I got. So I'm hoping he understands that and does not attempt to hit me again. He lost a lot of aircraft striking Pearl Harbor last time. I don't know if he wants to lose even more, because those are really good pilots that he's throwing away. But the fact that he's still sitting at Pearl Harbor makes me wonder if he's trying to bait me into something. So I had initially thought about sending out all of my available surface combatants that are still afloat and like a massive bum rush, right towards Akito Butai, full speed, everything I got, every destroyer, every cruiser, just sending a massive attack wave out to hit them. And I'm gonna let you wait and see what I do, because I haven't finally decided what to do yet. There's pros and cons to both of those things. The pros is I send out this massive bum rush of ships and we somehow get locked in combat. The task force he has can't disengage, and I get some lucky hits on some of his carriers or whatever battleships or whatever escort ships he's got here. But what if they don't meet and he moves his Kido Butai out and goes into naval attack mode? Then I have my entire Navy assets sitting out in the open, and he can just attack them without the benefit of my cap being in the area. So it's hard to know what to do here. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do because I want you to watch. Because, again, I don't know who's watching or where this information is going, but I don't want Lodrik to know what my plan is here, because I certainly don't know what his plan is. Because if I were him, I would have got out of here. I really don't know what he's doing with this. I feel like he's baiting me. Or maybe he's not. I don't know. We'll find out. I've got plans for the Indianapolis Task Force down here. I'm not going to tell you what they are, because I need to preserve OPSEC on that. And additionally, my two carrier task forces, the Lexington and the Enterprise, are at sea right now. And I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do with those either, at least initially, again, for OPSEC, because they're too crucial to lose. I cannot afford to lose these carriers early in the campaign. So I'm not telling you where they're going right now. You'll figure it out as the next couple turns progress, but you'll have to forgive me. I just can't divulge that information right now because, these guys over here are still a thing. And I guarantee you they are better equipped to take out my carriers than these two carriers are to take out his. So just watch and see what we're going to do here. All right. I think I've been talking long enough. Hopefully I covered the overall strategy in enough detail that you're satisfied with what I'm doing. But if you have questions, please ask me. Leave a comment, come to my Discord, ask there, ask specific questions, and I'll give you specific answers. If I go into any more specificity in this video, it'll be 10 hours long. So I don't want to do that. I want to get this packaged up. I want to get this turn sent to Lodrik so we can get going. Once he has his turn, this stuff's going to really pop off and we're going to get moving fast because all the heavy setup and heavy lifting is done. So that's all I got for now. Wish me luck. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen because Lodrik is definitely off script here, and I have no idea what his plans are. He's already kind of thrown me for a loop with what he's done so far, so anything goes. All right, that's all I got. Hopefully in the next couple days you'll be able to see the results of turn 2, and we can talk about what's going to happen next. All right, guys, thanks. Have a good one.